was something I felt was needed to share with you folks because helping students in blended social studies, I mean, really, to me, one of the biggest things of education is teaching kids to care about others. And when you encourage it, when you see it happen naturally, as in the blended situation, it's really encouraging. So here's one story. These aren't real names. Ashante used her phone when she was at home to alert me to another student, Alice, having trouble with her Wi-Fi. So basically, Ashante acted as the person that helped me communicate with Alice. We got her using her phone for Wi-Fi. She got into the class. Then Ashante and even others reached out to help Alice get caught up. Without that blended environment, face-to-face in person and online would not have happened. Then there's Estella, who voluntarily made a duo language version of a presentation, combined all those modalities of information related to factory conditions and child labor. And when I asked her why she did that, she just said she wanted to help. And then in this one, where we're in a Google Docs session, using a Google Doc that's commonly shared to communicate and answering students' questions on one row, and then have to keep going back to that same student to answer the question. Then another student asked a question, so I had to go to that row. By the time I got back to the first student's questions, another one had jumped in and was answering her questions for her. It oftentimes happens in this blended environment where some of them are in the room and some of them are at home online. But the whole thing is they seek ways to help each other, right? Even if it's nothing more advanced than just making links available to presentations we're working on. Then this is one thing that I really like. It's kind of like you can encourage it, but then it also has to happen naturally, where students can see other students who aren't being invited in and they're too shy perhaps to ask to work with other people in a group, and they invite them in to collaborate. And they do know when a peer is not likely to ask questions. So sometimes they take care of this by telling me this person has a question or does not have access to a work document, and I can address that. But it's also, as you see the second point there, asking how to do something, even though they know how to do it, because they know somebody else is in the room that will not ask, that needs to know. And this is quite interesting. Students working on making an authentic presentation of a 1920s radio show, and they decided to record it, and they partnered up to be the other voice in an interview. Then one of them figured out an app that she could put her recording into and then overlay the sound effect onto it. Then she shared that with her friend. So it's like different ways of lifting each other up and helping each other. And then they make supportive comments on a jointly editable Google slide document. They're making basically a collage, a picture presentation of the conflict between communism and capitalism, and making supportive comments on that. It's quite interesting to see. Didn't even have to ask them to do that. So there you see, brief little story of how students in blended learning, especially with the capabilities blended learning allows, reach out to each other in different ways.